Are you looking for an internationally recognized TESOL certification in order to work abroad, start a new career, or further your career? Then TESOL Coachmaster Inc. is the answer. At TESOL Coachmaster, we provide advanced, quick, friendly, and affordable TESOL course which is legal to find your ESL/EFL or other English teaching job anywhere in the world. TESOL Coachmaster is awarded by different organizations such as the 2019 World Class Philippines Award in the field of education, Online TESOL Certification, 2018 to 2019 Global Awards for Marketing and Business Excellence as Best Online TESOL Certification Provider, and the recent National Customer's Choice Annual Awards 2020 as the most outstanding online TESOL certification provider. For more information, visit our website www.tesolcoachmaster.com.
All right, we'll start in 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Teacher Rue, and I am a proud graduate of TESOLCOACHMASTER Incorporated. So this is teaching reading and writing to very young learners. So today you're going to be witnessing a class of mine with the age range of 3 to 6 years old. And of course, bear in mind that having a class with young learners is definitely going to be a whirlwind. So either you get swept by it or just learn to have a blast. So this is my Kindy 1 class, and let's begin. Everybody stand up. And everybody go. Everybody say hello, Teacher Rue. Yeah, hello, Teacher Rue. Ready, go. For more students, we have pencils for today. So everybody, let's go ahead and start by saying, ready, go. Very good, now you remember. Let's go ahead and sing.
All right, again, welcome to our third virtual class. Virtual class will be talking about grammar for English language teachers. But before we're going to start with the virtual class, I would like to invite everyone to unmute your microphone. I would like to listen to your voice. Okay, please unmute your microphone.
Hello.
Yeah, and then open your camera if possible. I would like to see your beautiful and handsome faces. I know it's almost midnight in the Philippines. It's already 9:53 here in Vietnam and some parts of Asia. We are still alive and
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Are you lost, baby girl?
What about those, students who have not yet opened their camera? Okay, Michelle, good evening. What about for the others? Okay. Lucille is with us. What about Sir Joseph, who is currently based in Japan, and Sarah? There are 17 people on board, right? All right. What about Mr. Charles? And okay, I have here Stephen T. Forrest. I do that. Huh? All right.
Super narrating.
All right. It's good to see you once again. And for those who are still new, this is our virtual class for Tesol Master and CPEY courses. So it's being combined because our CPEYL has one video that will work on one of the virtual classes. You may now mute your microphone and then your camera. All right. So our adjunct professor for tonight's topic is grammar for English language teachers. True to her love and attention for the written and spoken word since her childhood days, she took up journalism at Solomon University of the city, graduating cum laude, and later pursued Master of Arts and Doctor of Education from the same university. She is a Match South After speaker, research person, communication consultant, and host or actor of many events. Today, of her being a regular columnist in two community newspapers, one of which is the Zion Daily Star, Bacolod City, pioneer editor-in-chief and editorial consultant of Accent News, host of two weekly talk shows on local cable television. She is director of the International Media and Technology Center of Southern University after having served as Dean of the College of Mass Communication of Solomon University for 6 years. She is a full-time licensed professional teacher with the rank of assistant professor, a researcher, author of the textbook Feature Writing for Filipinos, and co-author of the textbook Communication in Changing Times. Among the organizations she has served, she has been vice president for media relations of the Tourism Educators Council of Negros Oriental, or which we know, and is the current vice president for Negros Oriental and Singapore of the Philippine Association for Graduate Education, Region 7. She is a candidate for her second doctorate degree from Stanford University, the PhD in Social Science. Ladies and gentlemen, our Adam E. professor for tonight's topic, grammar for English language teachers, Dr. Maria Cecilia M. Genove. A big round of applause, please. All right. Good evening, Dr. Genove.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Sir Nick. And it's nice to see you all. Yes, you are right. It's almost midnight here in Dumaguete City in the Philippines. But this is not exactly very strange for me because I am an evening person. So right now I am alive and well. It's like my day has just started. No, so no problem at all. Even if we may last until one in the morning or 2 in the morning, but that's definitely out of the question because I know that you still have work for tomorrow. And same with me, I also have classes by tomorrow. So are we set now, Sir Nick? We can
Yes,
already move on. Yes,
you may
very
go.
good. Yes, very good. So our discussion for tonight, no, this is going to be specifically on grammar for English language teachers. And if you may notice, by next Saturday, that's September 26th, we have another session which is on discourse for English language teachers. But I'd like to separate the two. As suggested by Sir Nico, we can learn one skill for this particular module. So for grammar for English teachers, I'd like to concentrate on written communication because after all, discourse, if we may have to jump the gun, discourse can be both written as well as oral. But for our purposes tonight, for grammar for English language teachers, I'd like to zero in or emphasize on written communication. Okay, so I hope we are set on our perspective for tonight so that we are on the same track. No? Now, I think we are allowed as well to ask questions later on. Sir Nico, is that allowed?
Yes, ma'am. Right after your presentation, the
Okay.
students will be asking questions during
Yeah.
the open forum. Yeah.
Yes, very good. So may I now proceed to my presentation? I practiced actually earlier today for about 6 hours. So I hope nothing will go wrong. No, heaven forbid. Okay, here we go. Oh, let me see. And then I go to this one. Okay, and then just a minute. Share an application window. Oops. Okay, here it is now. I hope you can see my presentation.
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet. Just a minute. Okay. Oops. Is this the one, Sir Nick? Can you see my
Um,
presentation now? Not yet.
you need to click the present now.
Just a minute. Yeah, I did that already. Just a minute, huh? Oh dear. I did that. Sandali. This is okay. This must be oh my goodness. I saw the present now. Just a
This
minute, huh?
one.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it already, and then I went to open a window.
Uh-huh. And then
Okay.
click your PowerPoint.
Yeah, here is my PowerPoint now, which I am looking at. Here is my PowerPoint. Uh, it should go back. Oh, sandali, just a minute. Oh, here we are now. Okay. Is this it now? I wonder.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Here it is now, Nick. I think this is the one now. I'll click on share. Just a minute, huh? Okay, and then I will click share. Okay, can you see it now, Nick?
Okay, it's working.
Yes, very good. Okay, so I am now presenting to everyone. Great, great. Yes, okay. I'd like to term our first segment for our presentation tonight, giving the words that we using a workout. I know that you have heard of the term workout, but when we say workout, we're referring to our bodies. We exercise, we do some Zumba sessions, or we do some workout. We go to the gym, but isn't it that our words also need some workout, not only our bodies but even our words? So I'd like to call it as giving our words a workout. Let's go over some of these common words, and let's see if some of us may probably have used them at one point or another, or we may have overused them. Let me see. If you have been using cliches, bromides, or overused and abused words, avoid it like the plague. In other words, don't use them. May I give you some examples of overused and abused words? For example, if you ask your students or your pupils to describe a woman, I hope they will not simply just say, a woman, or this woman is beautiful. And then if they move on and describe the way the woman dresses, maybe they will say she's wearing, or she is wearing, or she wore a beautiful dress, or she is wearing a beautiful pair of shoes, no? So in other words, the word beautiful here is overused, abused, and I don't think we would like to hear another word where beautiful is being used. So let's be creative with the words that we are using. Let's not overuse and abuse certain words, especially adjectives. That was just one example, but there are so many actually that we can overuse. How about cliches? Cliches are proverbs maybe, or sayings that we have been used to using even way back when we were yet in the elementary grades. For example, if I ask you to describe the state of mind that you are in, no? Maybe you will say something like this: God helps those who help themselves. But that has been used and overused as a saying, as a proverb, over time, even way back, no, when we were yet in the elementary grades or in high school. So now that you are English language teachers, and we have something to impart impart to our readers or to our learners, let's avoid cliches such as those, no? And in fact, I'd like to encourage all of you, friends and ladies and gentlemen, to be original in your sayings, no? You don't really need to copy or you don't need to quote someone, but I have noticed that over time, people have been used to quoting certain individuals. That is fine. That is really fine. That means that you have read some of their works or that you are a voracious reader. But we can also be original with our sayings or with our words of wisdom or with our pieces of advice. So that's one particular thing that I'd like to emphasize. Let's avoid cliches, overused or abused words, especially if we have constantly been using them since time immemorial. Let's try to take a look at some very common words that I know many of you have been actually using, and I would encourage you to use them, no? But after all, these are just examples. We can still expand our vocabulary. I know that I don't need to read through all these words, but you can see it from the screen. These are really very, very common words. We can use them. We can even use synonyms. But let us try to take a look at these words because these are really very common words. I know that all of them are understandable. Many of them are not exactly difficult words, and that is exactly what English is supposed to be, no? So when we teach English language, let's teach the language like we are also enjoying it, no? Because after all, the English language is wow, such a prolific type of endeavor because the English language has evolved over time, no? So there are many words, in fact, today that are now applicable and that are now usable. And if they are present in the dictionary, then that means that we can use them. So these are some examples of words that I'd like to call as buzzwords because they're very common. We can actually use them from time to time, but don't let me stop you from using synonyms as well, no? So I don't need to read through them, take a look at them. Maybe you can review them maybe later on and see if you can also make use of some synonyms. Let's move on and try to take a look again at how English can become a verb rich language, no? So when we talk about verbs, you know this because you are in the field of language. Verbs are supposed to be action words, no? This means that when we talk or when we teach the language, let us enliven our lessons by using action words because it makes the language more energetic and it makes us all really active. After all, verbs are supposed to be action words. Now, verbs also have a particular purpose or objective because they are good, especially when we are emphasizing on our presentation as well as the content or the subject matter. Because if we use words that are weak, if we use, for example, being verbs, a being verb is weak, for example, so like is walking or is baking. Those are being verbs, or are walking, or are baking, or are shouting. These are all being, so-called being verbs. But if we substitute them with a more active, more vigorous words, then our language will not become weak. It will become stronger. It will become more vigorous, energetic, and yes, it will really denote some action. So that's the purpose of a verb, which is really very useful when we are using the English language because it makes our presentation more energetic and it will enliven our presentation. Now, what are some phrases that you need to avoid as well? Now, may I emphasize that even if for this particular session we are focusing on written communication, this can also cross over to oral communication, because after all, we do not need to delineate or put a dividing line between oral as well as written communication, because we are using the same medium. What is our medium? Our medium is English. So let's avoid, for example, this one is very common, and sometimes I may also be guilty of this. This one, perhaps if you are speaking to someone or to a friend, for example, or when you are delivering a speech, or when you are conversing with someone, maybe you'll say something like this. Ito, this is exactly what I'm saying, or something like that. No, it's actually a very general term, and in fact, it is not clear. It is vague because you're saying something like this. Exactly what I am saying now to you. So perhaps we can revise it. Maybe we can modify what we had said and say, this is just an example. We can say small things do matter, or anything that is at the back of your mind which you would want to relay to your audience or to your learners. Another example, this one also is very common. Very often we hear people say something like this. I'd like you, uh, students or pupils, I'd like you to go on a research on various issues. Oh my goodness. The students and the pupils will really have difficulty if you say something like, go and do some library research on various issues. What exactly do you mean when you say various issues? It's a very, very broad term. It's a general term, but it would really be helpful to your learners if you specify what exactly do you need, sir, ma'am. What exactly are the issues that you would like us to research on? Thus, it is better, it is much better, more favorable if you specify what these issues are. From your end, I think you can have many issues to talk about, no, depending on your culture, depending on the milieu that you are in, depending on the background of your particular community, or perhaps the background of your students also. Let's move on now. The English language is really very powerful. No, after all, we refer to it as the so-called universal language. It's the so-called lingua franca, universal language. In other words, if you are uh, planning to communicate with people from all over the world, the first thing that you should learn is the English language, aside, of course, from other languages that you may be proficient in. The reason for this is if we use words that are strong and specific, then that means that there is going to be power as well as we give meaning to a particular message. So that's how it should be, no? We use strong, specific words so that we give power as well as meaning to a message that we are trying to relay to our audience or to our learners. Now, I'd like to mention this because, after all, now that we are in a virtual world, I wonder if many of our teachers are still looking at the dictionary as an ally. I still use the dictionary. I even like the printed copy of the dictionary. Although today, I think you will agree with me that everything is really at our fingertips. No, there is Google, which is the best friend of everybody. No, even the pronunciation of words, you can already get it from Google. And Google Dictionary, in fact, also gives us the proper enunciation because it gives us a sound. Very, very easy. But I still would like to hold a printed copy of the dictionary and a thesaurus and really look up the words myself rather than simply just going to Google. Of course, it's more convenient, but there is no substitute to a printed copy of a dictionary, even if it may be old and tattered. That would be good because it means that the dictionary and the thesaurus was actually used. No, so let's pay attention to the words that we have been using. How many words have you memorized, perhaps, no, or have you learned in the dictionary? If you take a look at the unabridged dictionary in your respective libraries. If you have an unabridged dictionary, there are millions, even billions or trillions of words that are listed in the dictionary. But do we use all of them? I don't think so. I don't think we can use all of them. But of course, it would be good if we know the meanings of words in particular, because that would help us perhaps in our answering of crossword puzzles, or maybe you have been labeled as a walking dictionary in your schools and so on. That is fine. But if we use this in our day-to-day language, in our day-to-day conversations, or in our day-to-day communication, we actually are using only about 500 of these words, and then we simply just weave, not really simply, no, we weave these words into perfect sentences. Then we weave these sentences into excellent paragraphs, and then in the end we come up with a very excellently written, or an excellently written prose or piece of literary material, or maybe an essay, because we have paid much attention to the words that we are using. So something like 500 to 700 words are what we use in the dictionary, even if there are thousands, millions, billions, and even trillions of words that are listed in the dictionary. And in fact, the dictionary, or the lexicon, no, that's another term for the dictionary. In fact, many words are still added to the dictionary until today while I am speaking. And people have been saying, the linguists have actually been saying, that if a word has constantly been used over time, then it becomes an acceptable word. So there are so many no, coined, a combination of words. There are so many coined words today that people have been using, and that have now been listed in the lexicon or in the dictionary. Now that I am speaking, I remember one particular example, and I think many of you may be familiar with this. I'd like to make as an example the adjective, although it's not a verb, it's an adjective. The word emeldific, with a capital letter I, no? I know that you may have heard of this as well in the past, that the word emeldific is now in the dictionary, meaning you are pursuing a lavish lifestyle, an emeldific lifestyle. So it's now in the dictionary, it's acceptable. People have been using it because it is now listed under one word, or an additional word that can be added to our vocabulary. So that is just one example, but there are still many. Perhaps you can help me as we go along, and give us some examples as well. Let's try to see if we have some examples. Here you are. Well, this is the second edition of the Oxford English Dictionary, but there are, as I mentioned, no, there is also an unabridged meaning all the words contained that you can imagine in a dictionary are contained there. But this one in particular, the Oxford English Dictionary, the second edition, there are more than the number of words here have actually grown. But in this particular second edition, there are more than 600,000 words, no, in the English language that are currently in use. But that are currently in use, yes, but this particular number, as I mentioned, has grown over the years because of some additional words. Some of these words are technical, some of these words are also like medical, or even environmental, cultural. So long as people have been using them, and so long as it is listed in the dictionary, then it is acceptable, no? Here another example that I remembered, I mentioned emeldific, no? And I think you would know how the word originated. It was used to honor, if I will use that particular term, to honor the first lady, former first lady of the Philippines, Imelda Romualdez Marcos. Thus, they coined the word emeldific. Now it is an adjective. Another word that originated actually as a Filipino word, the word boondocks. take note of how I pronounced it. No? It's actually our Filipino bundok, Bundok, bundok. But in the dictionary, the Oxford or even the Roget's thesaurus, you can find the word boondocks there. And boondocks is spelled Bondocks. But the boondocks means that mountains. No? So it comes from the word bundok, which is Filipino in origin. Very interesting, really, the language that we are trying to master, because after all it's our second language, but it is something that we have learned in school as well. Let's see if we have other examples. Okay. Linguists estimate that the average person, that means you and I, no, uses only one half to 1 or 2% of the word possibilities and combinations available. I mentioned that the average ordinary person uses about 500 to 600 words in the dictionary every day of their lives, no? Day in and day out, in our conversations, in our written communication, in our day-to-day dealings with people, we use over and over again around 500 or 600 of these words. And as mentioned, this is now dependent on our creativity, on how we can weave these words and use them, especially to our advantage. But I'd like us to expand our vocabulary, to widen our vocabulary. I do not wish us to limit our vocabulary. If you know of many words, that is fine. That is really perfectly fine. It can help you when answering crossword puzzles. It can also help you if you teach spelling to your young learners or to your pupils or students. It can also help you, especially when you may be reading a book or something, no? And you encounter certain words that may not have been used very often, but since you are somebody who has widened your vocabulary, then you are able to understand what these words mean. So I'd like us to expand our vocabulary. And how do we do this? No? Today, I hope that we can also encourage our learners to love the art of reading. Many young people today may have forgotten, siguro, no? Maybe they have forgotten perhaps the joy that one gets out of reading. There are ebooks today that are available. There are tablets today where our pupils and even our young people, young learners can read. But I think there is no substitute to the written or the printed word. Something that you can bring with you when you go to a coffee shop. Something that you can bring with you when you go to the beach or wherever your hideaway may be, because it's something that I can simply just tuck into my bag. No, it's not exactly heavy. It's very handy because it's the printed word, it's the printed book, or it's the text that I am bringing with me. So that's how we can expand our vocabulary, by cultivating the art of reading. And I hope that we can also relay this to our young learners. Never mind if they may be saturated with modern technology today, I think we can still instill in their minds the love of going to the library. Never mind if there is now a virtual library, never mind if there is now Google or the internet. But maybe when the pandemic is over, we can all troop back to the library or to a public library, to our university library, and really savor the presence of the books and other printed materials in the library. That would really be nice, no? So hopefully we will be able to do that very soon. Okay, now may I share with you some of these rules given by speakers of the English language? Some of them, of course, are they are foreigners. Some of them are Americans, because after all, when we say English, that's the British English. No, there is also the American English. So maybe you will say which one is correct, or not really better, no, which one is correct. If you are in a cultural milieu that is adapting the English, or the British English, then they would say that that is correct. That is fine, really, no? Or if you are saying, or if you are in an area where the American English is predominant, I'm not also saying that it is incorrect, but yes, that is acceptable because that's the so-called American English. In Silliman University in Dumaguete City, Philippines, no, the first Presbyterian American school or university that was established in the Philippines, what we adapt is the American English. No, that is also correct. The British or the English is also correct. So again, that would be dependent on the cultural setting or the milieu where you are in. But let me share with you what other speakers of the English language have said. No? There is one editor of technical publications from Oklahoma State University, Janet Reeder, who said that if we want to be successful as English language teachers, my field is journalism. So I always have a leaning on accuracy, brevity, to be brief, as well as to be clear in the language that we are using. And I think we can never go wrong, no? If you use grammar, for example, to relay information, definitely you have to be accurate, no? If you have an information that you would like to transmit to your learners, certainly you want to be accurate with your information. You don't want to be accused of inaccuracies or information that are not exactly correct. I don't think you would want to do that, no? So you have to be accurate. Brevity. What do we mean by brevity? Today, especially with the fast-paced world that we are living in, brevity is the name of the game. Being brief, being concise. Sometimes they call it KISS, keep it short and simple. Keep it KISS, KISS. Keep it short and simple. That means that the shorter the better. That's what we mean by brevity. The shorter, the more brief it is, the better. And there is elegance in the language if we are not really exactly very wordy, but we are able to relay our information in a brief, short, no, brief but concise manner. And yes, there goes the word clarity. If you are accurate with your information, if you are short but sweet, if you are short and simple, if you are brief, then certainly your message is going to be clear. So these are the so-called ABCs of journalism, which is my concentration because that is my training, but which is also very helpful when we teach the English language. Let us be accurate with our information. Let us be brief or short because there is elegance in brevity, and certainly let us be clear with what we are trying to relay. And that's very important, really. No, how can you be understood if you are not clear with your message? Okay, yeah, this was what I was saying. The shortest and the most concise way of saying something is to our advantage. No, shortest, not very wordy, the shortest and the most concise way of saying something is really going to work to our advantage because it is not going to confuse our audience. Rather than I'm trying to recall certain speakers or certain grammarians, no, who say so many things. In the process, they probably think that they have explained something really well because they said it in so many words, but actually they did not. No? What did they do to the audience? They actually confused the audience because of the so many things that they were saying. It's like it's like saying, can we go back to square one? Because where are we now? Maybe we have reached Mars, maybe we have reached Jupiter, but we're actually just here on Earth. So let's go back to Earth. No, that's what we mean. Instead of confusing, instead of making your audience understand your message, you are confusing them. So here are some parts of speech, no, parts of speech that you can use, especially when you're trying to relay some message. We mentioned the verb. No, I don't need to repeat that, but verbs are action words. Again, may I just reiterate, they serve to enliven your presentation. It makes your presentation look energetic, and you will also be complete with vigor as well as stamina. Adjectives are also very helpful because it lends color. It lends color to your presentation. I think it's not going to be favorable if you are describing something but you did not even use adjectives at all, no? And then yes, there are adverbs that we can also use. Adverbs also have a purpose because they make your message less objective. No, they make your message less objective. It makes your message subjective. But sometimes, but oftentimes, no, I have to say, oftentimes we have to be cautious with this one because adjectives are actually very subjective. For example, if I use the adjective gorgeous, maybe I'll use it in a sentence. Maybe I will say Miss Universe or former Miss Universe Catriona Gray looks gorgeous in her red gown. Maybe that is just according to my perception, but other people may not see Catriona Gray as gorgeous in her red gown. So gorgeous is an adjective. It is a subjective word because it is in accordance to how I perceive a particular person or a particular object. But very importantly, the bottom line here is just say exactly what you mean. Even if you may use an adjective or an adverb or other parts of speech, just say exactly what you mean, not not convoluting your presentation with so many words, no? But these words are actually useless. These words are blank. These words are empty. So just say exactly what you mean. And in fact, there's a saying that goes this way, something like ano ba talaga ate, no? If we say that in Tagalog or in Filipino, ano ba talaga, what is it exactly that you mean, or what do you exactly mean? So this is the message of this particular slide, no? So say exactly what you mean so that you will be understood. Okay, now in a publication like for example, no, I'd like to use as an example the Reader's Digest. I think many of you as English language teachers, you're familiar with the Reader's Digest. Take note of how the Reader's Digest makes use of the words that they have in their publication. The words are really very simple, understandable. In fact, many of them are monosyllabic words. The words also are very easy to pronounce. The words are understandable. And take note of how long their sentences are. No? Are they compound sentences? Are they complex sentences? Are they complex compound sentences? Or are they simple sentences? And here is a guide that you can remember, or you can try to use as your mantra when you are doing English as far as written communication is concerned. Huh? 25 words or fewer, that means that you are understood. Again, huh? 25 words in a sentence or fewer than 25 words, you are already understood. In fact, the standard number of words per sentence is 20. No? So what did I say? 25 words or even fewer than 25 words. So maybe we can put it this way: 20 to 25 words in one sentence that will render your sentence understandable. More than that, no, for example, you may have 35 words to 40 words per sentence. That's going to be a complex sentence already. Okay, that's not going to be understood at all. It may tend to confuse your audience about your subject matter as well as the message that you're trying to relay. Now, I mentioned adverbs earlier, and I said that it has a purpose, of course, no, because it is a part of speech, of course, the adverbs. But adverbs sometimes do not have any use at all, except if the speaker or the user of that particular adverb or that particular word may try to remember another word that he or she would like to use. Thus, adverbs today, I'm referring to how adverbs are being used today. Oftentimes they are now being used as filler words. This is more rampant or prevalent, especially in oral communication. For example, uh, a uh, a contestant in an extemporaneous speaking contest forgot the correct word or the appropriate word that he or she would like to use to describe something, maybe, or to express his opinion. So he says something like this: actually, and this is very common. I think we may have heard this as oftentimes. Or how many times have you heard a speaker say basically or something, no? Or really, or actually? I had mentioned that already, no? So these are some filler words, as how you call it. What is that part of speech in the English language of these words? Really, actually, basically. These ones I have often heard, no? These are adverbs. They may have some use, no, but if you again overdo or overuse them, it will now clutter your message. Now, what is the purpose of an adverb? It has its purpose, of course, no, but if you are using them merely to fill in a particular word, then it does not do you well, no? So let's try to see if adverbs can be used later on, or adverbs can take a back seat in the meantime while we are doing English language. Okay, here you go. Here is another tip. No, when you are doing an outline or when you are practicing your speech or presentation, and this is also applicable to written communication. Written communication, grammar. Cut or delete unnecessary. Here we are. No, this is the word. Adverbs can be used, certainly. Please, no, let's use adverbs because it has a purpose. But cut unnecessary adverbs, especially if they are merely just used to fill in a particular word. Adjectives are good, but do not overdo them. Adjectives are good, really. I love adjectives. I love the way people describe things. No, I love the way literary writers describe things. But when we speak about it, in basic communication, adjectives can be subjective. Adjectives also tend to clutter our presentation. And I mentioned some overused words. Let us not use them anymore. Let us be original. Let us be creative with how we weave words into sentences and so on. No? Okay, let's see if I have other examples. Here you are. These are some examples, no, of words that may be labeled as generalities, very general, not generalities, or are vague, not very clear. Here are some examples: some, most, many, sometimes, sort of, di ba? We have been using this, no? Sort of, kind of, or kinda, no? Kinda. Well, you can sometimes use them, but maybe in informal conversations. I often hear some people say, kinda, are you bored or something, or are you hungry? Kinda, no? But they should not be present in formal language or formal communication. Then there is the they. No, this is a pronoun. They say you should. But I will ask you a question. Who are they? You can be specific. Who are they? Neighbors? Would it be your neighbors? Would it be what, friends or acquaintances? Rather than simply just saying they, because they is a pronoun. They say you should. They say, people say, it has been said. And I think some of us may be guilty of this. Sometimes I say these things, no, but I am trying to correct myself, especially if I am engaging in in formal communication or formal grammar, or written communication in particular. So these are some general words, too general that they tend to be vague or not clear at all. Okay, here are some more examples, no? In terms of grammar. Passive verbs. What did we say earlier? Verbs are action words. They're really very good. It enlivens our presentation. But let us avoid passive verbs. I mentioned the being verbs. Here we are now. The being verbs, no? To be, or was running, was baking or something, or to be. These are so-called being verbs. Was, where, is, are. They are weak verbs, in fact. No? In fact, they are not so-called verbs. They are being verbs. Example, take a look at this example. This is an example of a passive verb. Passive, no? Many houses were photographed by Amy. But if we make this into the active voice, no? Active voice of the verb, maybe we can say something like this. Let me see. Uh, Amy uh, took photos of many houses. No? It's just an example. We can revise it further. Amy took took photos. No, took is a verb, of course. No, it's in the past tense. Amy took photos of many houses. Okay, so that's an example. Or here is another example. Amy photographed. Or if you don't want to use took photos, maybe you can say Amy photographed. Sorry, Amy photographed. I think this is the one. Amy photographed many houses. That is now the active verb. Okay, and in fact, it is much better. You can immediately glean and feel the action that is being done rather than using the so-called being verbs like was, where, is, are. No, so I think we can see the difference. The active voice of the verb is really more favorable and more energetic, no, and more active. Now, William Shakespeare, who does not know William Shakespeare, or who has not heard of William Shakespeare? Now that we mentioned William Shakespeare, I remembered very quickly one particular incident at the Silliman University Library where certain student librarians, no, they were doing their internship. They were about to throw books written by Shakespeare or works of Shakespeare. Then they told their teacher librarian, ma'am, we can already discard these Shakespeare books because these are very old books. But my goodness, little did they know that the Shakespeare books are classic books. You can keep them by all means. No, don't discard them because these are the classic immortal, there is the word immortal books, no? So some writers who have also produced books, maybe we can mention some Filipino writers like Nick Joaquin, like Edith Lopez Tiempo, Edilberto Tiempo, F. Shonil Jose. These are some of our literary writers. Do we discard their works because they are already old or outdated? No, we don't. No, we can go back to them. We can read them, reread them because these are classic books. So the Shakespeare, no, Shakespeare, and he has a book called The Bard. He was a master of maximizing, no, maximizing. For example, if your vocabulary is, let us say, about 200 words, no, those are the words that you know, then maximize them. Maximize. You don't exactly need to use all of them, but maximize your use of these words in your vocabulary. What are some examples of these words? No, okay. Here are some examples of these words. Okay, these are just some. No, which was taken from Shakespeare's book, The Bard. Lackluster. No, it's a combination. No, these are some examples only. It's a combination of words. Lackluster, quarrelsome, sneak, or a madcap, perplex, or swagger. No, it's a combination. Some of these words have emerged in novels or in short stories. No, especially because Shakespeare was a poet and at the same time a literary writer, and also a playwright, no, somebody who writes plays or dramas, no, one act plays, three act plays, and so on. But these words actually enrich our vocabulary, because although there may be some synonyms that may mean the same with these words, but these are words that can enrich our vocabulary and can make reading really enjoyable, no? So I don't claim of these words coming from me, certainly, but this came from William Shakespeare's book, The Bard, no? Let's see if I have other examples. Okay, here we go. I have mentioned some of them, no? These are my own examples, not really my own, that I have made up, made them up, no? But when I say my own examples, it means that I like them. I like these individuals. Thus, I used them as examples of what I'd like to refer to as eminent wordsmith, meaning they know their grammar, they know the English language, they are masters of the English language. I mentioned the national artist Nick Joaquin. No? If you have been following the life story of Nick Joaquin, of course, he has passed on. He has died already. But Nick Joaquin was an undergraduate. No, he did not finish school, but he is a wide reader, or he was a wide reader. He was again a voracious reader. So he loved to read. Thus, his vocabulary has been widened, or he has a very wide vocabulary, rich vocabulary. Thus, he was able to write books. He was also be able to write biographies. He wrote poetry, short stories, and so on. And certainly, he became the national artist for literature in the Philippines. And there is the power couple. I'd like to call them as the power couple: national artist Edith Lopez Tiempo and her husband Edilberto Tiempo, who are the purveyors of the National Summer Writers Workshop being held in Dumaguete or in Silliman University every year for more than 50 years already, except for this year because there was the pandemic already. It's usually being held because it's a summer writers workshop in May, but the pandemic was already on us. So it was canceled for this year, even if there were a number of individuals who already qualified to become workshoppers or members of that particular workshop. And then, yes, there is the Philippine Daily Inquirer columnist Conrado de Quiros. Sadly, he has taken a back seat. It's like he has gone on a forced retirement because Mr. Conrado de Quiros kind of got sick. He has a health problem, but I think at one point or another, he still was able to submit columns to the Philippine Daily Inquirer, but I don't think he is very active today. But he is a very good writer, and again, may I say, he is an undergraduate. He's a dropout from Ateneo de Manila University. I think he just lacked one semester in college, but he quarreled, I think, one of his teachers who was a Jesuit priest. Thus, he wasn't able to finish his course or his degree. But he's a very, very good writer. Very good writer. Again, his vocabulary is wide. He knows many words. And then there is Cripuzon, Alfred Cripuzon. I know him. I have met him. Not exactly a friend, but an acquaintance. And he has visited Dumaguete and Silliman University very often, especially during the summer writers workshop. But since the pandemic, no one has actually come to Dumaguete and other parts of the world, for that matter. Mr. Ian Kasokot, some of you may have heard of him. He was my former student in the College of Mass Communication. He finished mass communication, but now he is into literary writing, and he has been given the responsibility of the Creative Writing Center, of taking charge of the Creative Writing Center of Silliman University, as well as the National Summer Writers Workshop. A very good writer also, literary writer. No? And then there's Patricia Evangelista. You may have read her on Rappler. She's a reporter on Rappler, but she also writes columns, and she is a literary writer. She was in Dumaguete as well, as part of the National Summer Writers Workshop. And then there are many opinion columnists that you may have been reading or following over the years. No, there is Rina Jimenez David in the Philippine Daily Inquirer, and many others. Dominic Torrevilla Suarez, and many others. Jessica Safra is another very good writer. No, her columns were published in I think it's now a defunct newspaper, the Tribune. The Tribune. No, but Jessica Zafra is very good. She's quite an eccentric writer, very eccentric. But let's not look at her personality anymore. Let's take a look at her grammar. Let's take a look at the words that she uses. Let's take a look at her being a writer. Jessica Zafra is good. Mocha Uzon, I know she's quite controversial in the Philippines, no? Because she was undersecretary. She became undersecretary or a USEC, undersecretary of communications in Malacanang Palace. She was one of the trusted aides of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Mocha Uzon, but let's take let's look at Mocha Uzon objectively, no? Let's take a look at her writings, because apart from the fact that she has been accused today, but that's already for today, apart from the fact that she's been accused of peddling, no, inaccurate information, I think she writes well, no. I think her vocabulary is also good. I think she is able to use and weave these words into sentences and so on, unless of course, no, unless of course some of these works by Mocha Uzon were plagiarized by her, no, or something, or something. But I have not heard of it, unless some of you may have read or heard that Mocha Uzon had plagiarized some of her works. But objectively speaking, I think her works are good, no, her works are fine. And let's take as an example her grammar, her use of the English language. And then yes, are we familiar with bloggers? I cannot pick off certain names of bloggers today, but there are so many. No, bloggers are writers who find an outlet in social media. In fact, very recently there is talk or a debate on whether bloggers can also be classified as journalists. Can bloggers be classified as journalists? Can bloggers also cover news? Because sometimes they do that, no? But I don't think so. I think journalists are a different league of their own. Bloggers are bloggers. They can be creative. They are literary writers, and their outlet is through social media. And they can write about many topics, no? Or varied topics. Okay, let's move on. And I think we're about something like a few slides left. Yeah, and yes, I'd like to believe that today, because the English language has already evolved, as I said earlier, no, today, without really emphasizing on journalism, no, but I'd like to say that many people have now embraced what we call as creative nonfiction. Creative in the sense that you make full use of your creativity, but your writing is non-fiction. In other words, these are all true to life, non-fiction, because fiction are just figments of our imagination. Fiction may not exactly be real or may not exactly be true, no, but there is what we call as creative. Make sure that your creative juices are working, but they are not fiction, they are not short stories, they are not products of our imagination, but they are all real and factual. And I'd like to call it as creative nonfiction. And this is where we can make full use of our vocabulary. I'd like to say that let us do a self imposition, no? let's do a self imposition, meaning on ourselves, to widen our vocabulary so that we can be effective English teachers. Okay, here are some of them. No, listen and try to learn from among the best and the most engaging and excellent articulate speakers. Okay, there are some examples. Icons of public speaking. There are so many. No, in CNN, for example, there are very good opinion uh, uh, individuals who air out their opinions in the international scene. They can be considered as icons, especially when they blurt out their opinions on certain matters. And we have many also in the national as well as in the local scene. Let me see. Yes. So I think we're down to our last two slides. I'd like to leave you with this particular quotation or something like a thought. As teachers, facilitators, and trainers, what is our role? We are keepers of the spoken language and we are guardians of grammar. Clear, concise, and energetic language gives our message power, conveying experiences that our audiences will be able to appreciate and remember. It's a very nice quote. It's a very nice maybe a piece of advice that I can leave with you, because here we are. We are all keepers of the spoken language and we are guardians of grammar. So let us not mutilate the English language. No, that should not be in our vocabulary. That should be farthest from our mind. In fact, we should not be doing it. And if there are people who mutilate or bastardize the English language, let's be the first ones to tell them, no, do not do that. No, because the English language is the so-called lingua franca. No? So to recap, yes, and this is coming from a member of the East Side Toastmasters in Redmond, Washington, and the author of 3 books on words. Imagine that, no? I'd like to meet him, no? But I don't know if he's still around. Anu Garg, he said, words are the universal currency. Currency is like money, no? Words are the universal currency of humankind. The better we are with them, the better we can be in anything we do. And that's really very nice, no? It speaks of who we are as English teachers. It speaks of who we are as individuals. So with that, I'd like to thank you all, but I wonder if we may have time. Actually, I have 2 more PowerPoint presentations, but I will leave it to our moderator, Sir Nico, to control or manage our time. I wonder if that would be possible for all of us today. Let me see. Yeah, Sir Nick, salamat. Thank you very much. Oops. Okay.
Thank
Am
you so
I?
much, Dr. Cecile. All right. Now, probably
Salamat.
we'll be having the next 2 slides
Ah,
for
yes.
our next virtual classes. At this
Ah, okay.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
at this time we will be having our open forum, but
Yeah.
I would like to again reiterate, okay, and emphasize this last slide. As teachers, facilitators, and trainers, we are keepers of the spoken language and guardians of grammar. Mhm. Clear, concise, and energetic language gives your message power, conveying experiences that your audiences will appreciate and remember. And as what Dr. Emphasized, that you need to say exactly what you mean. All right. Now we
Right.
are open to questions. Or probably you would like to ask some pieces of advice or suggestions from Dr. Genove.
Yes, right.
So if you have questions, please unmute your microphone and open your camera. Don't be shy. All right. Now, can we have questions from the group right now? I think this is the biggest population
Mm, that's
we
good.
out from the webinars and the virtual classes that we had.
Mhm.
Have reached around
Yeah.
um, 53 participants for tonight, and I am actually only expecting like around 20, 25
Mm,
as
yeah.
to our participants for the previous virtual class. All
Yeah.
right,
Great. Great.
so we are now open for questions. Can we have questions from Miss Sarah?
Yeah, opo. One of my biggest challenges is how to teach grammar to students to make it more fun and interesting.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure, but I want to get help from that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, because what doctor has discussed are, using some other words or other expressions
Yeah.
for to present to the students. But
Mhm.
having young learners in our
Yeah.
class, I don't think that is very effective for the students.
Mm-mm.
So I don't think it's gonna work. So I want to have more examples, like how can I say, functional example or specific example to make grammar more fun
Yes.
or easier for the students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. What is the age bracket, Miss Sarah, of your learners? What is the age bracket? How young
Pri-
is young?
primary students, now I'm handling primary and secondary students. So from grade
The,
6, 7, 8. Anong age yun?
uh,
6, 7, 8.
Great.
that I
Like
think that
around,
would be 12 years old. 12
Yeah.
years old.
And my advanced class, medyo hirap
Mm-hmm.
pa rin sila sa grammar, and then more so sa mga beginners, sa mga
Okay. Beginners would mean that they are also young, but at the same time, no or little knowledge of the English language.
yeah, kind of like that. Yes.
Okay. Is
So
this in what part of the world are you in, Sarah, Miss Sarah? Are you in?
doctor, I'm in Vietnam.
You're in Vietnam.
Yes.
Okay. So in other words, just like us Filipinos, your learners are not the native speakers of the English language, of course, no? They are like us. We are it's our second language, as a matter of
Mm,
fact. Yeah. So
mm.
your concern here now is how do you teach grammar or English language and make the students learn to love it, no?
Yeah. So
Okay.
for example, yung example na binigay nyo, like the simple words like beautiful,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
truth to be told, that's really overused among my
Yes.
students. Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm
Yes.
trying to
Yes.
teach
Right.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for really beginners,
Yes,
that
yes,
would
yes.
be a great
Okay. You
challenge.
know, teaching language, not necessarily English, no? Teaching language in general is really very challenging. How do you teach language to someone who is not a native speaker of that particular language, be it French, German, Chinese, and so on, no? Most especially so, Miss Sarah, that these are very young learners. Tama ba? Am I right? Very young learners, no? Now, if, for example, they may not yet have cultivated the love, example, no? The love for reading, no? I think that would be where you can make a good start, no? Then be the I think you're a very creative teacher, no, looking at you, then make them love reading by telling them a story, for example, no. Maybe you can do ano ba at the back of my mind today, maybe you can do a pantomime, or maybe something like a skit, something, no? You can change your voice and let them learn the craft of reading and appreciating stories. That is going to be coming from the teacher na, no? So talagang grabe, no? Maybe you will have to eat fire. Kakain ka ng apoy, no? Just so you will get their attention. But there are so many ways by which we can let them learn to love reading, no? Maybe you can show them an illustration, or maybe a book that has beautiful colors, no? Or illustrations, and then let let it cut across to them that there are individuals who may share their same experiences. So you are in Vietnam, your learners are all Vietnamese. Maybe they're international, no? Maybe international. Maybe they are from other nationalities as well. Not
Most of them
necessary.
are Vietnamese.
They are
Yeah,
all
most
All,
Vietnamese.
all, all,
Most of them,
all, all
yeah.
Vietnamese. Ah, okay.
Might have
Here
half,
in
or majority are Vietnamese.
Okay, okay. Now, how long have you been in Vietnam? How long? Years?
Very long.
Very long already. So like 10
So,
years?
yeah,
10
I
years? Something, 10 years or even more. So you are the best person to be able to recognize or appreciate the Vietnamese culture. Tama, no? Because you've been parang ensconced in that particular area for quite some time already. That means that you can relate, no? Relate the stories that you would be getting, relate the stories that you would be researching on their cultural milieu, or in the culture where they belong. Ang ganda niyan, no? Then they would be able to appreciate that. But I still would like to believe that even if these are very young learners, you inject new words to them. Inject new words. It may take some time, no? Baka even the pronunciation of these words, maybe hirap din yata sila, no? They may find it difficult also. How much more the meaning of these words. Oh, really very challenging, and it's difficult to teach a language, any language for that matter, to individuals who may not be speakers of the same of that particular language.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually, yeah, I need new ideas sa
Right,
pagtuturo ng grammar.
right,
Thank
right,
you.
right, right, right. Tama
Thank you,
yun.
Paul. Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Hinove, and for that good question, Miss Sarah. Can we have a question from Mr. John Dave Latornas? Sir Dave? Sir Dave?
Okay. Hello. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay, please go
Okay. So,
on. Okay, your
hello,
question.
Miss.
Hello,
Okay. Hello, Dr.
hello.
Hinove.
Yes, yes, yes. I think you were a participant in our webinar before, John.
Um,
Were you?
um,
Um,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
and maybe I'm familiar too because I joined the essay writing contest.
No wonder. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, the name is really familiar.
It
Mm-mm.
was
Yeah.
Yeah.
the recipient of our
uh,
essay writing contest last year.
Yes. Yes. No wonder. No wonder. Yes, yes, yes. The name is really familiar. Congratulations, John.
oh, thank you, Dr. Hinove. I'm actually a big fan of yours, and we have
Really,
invited you. Yeah, we have
Ah,
invited you
ah.
to talk
In
to talk about feature writing in Orso.
Yes, yes, yes. So you're
Yeah,
in
I was
Dumaguete.
part. Yeah, I was part of the publication. So okay.
No wonder, no
So
wonder. Your name is familiar. Yeah.
okay. Let me proceed to my question, Dr. Hinove. I'm just wondering, because I think it's true to all of us that some of us are very good at writing, okay, in
Yes,
the
yes,
written language, but
yes.
some of us may have like struggle in using this written language in actually speaking it in like in an oral form. Like some of us may be very good in writing, but maybe we are not as good as in speaking. So how do you manage, or could you give us some tips on how to keep these two skills, are written and speaking skills, to be like okay apart to each other?
Okay, very good. That's something that's really also very challenging, John. No?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you may have heard of the saying that goes, "This person is better read than heard." Have you
yeah.
heard that? No, something like this person is better read. He is. It's better to read this person than listening to the person. Okay, so you cannot combine both oral and written, but you're saying that how can we combine the best elements of both oral and written? Actually, John, this course, which will emphasize on oral communication is going to be our module for next Saturday, this coming Saturday. But let
Oh,
me let, but
okay.
let me answer that, no, very very briefly, written as well as oral. Just practice, John. Practice in
Uh,
front of the mirror. Practice in front of the mirror. And if you are already a good writer, which I think you are, no, because you won, huh? You won. You're a winner in the.
thank
You're
you.
a winner. And I read your work, no. Uh, if you're a good writer, then strive to also become a good communicator in the oral language or in the oral form. How can you do that? Practice in front of the mirror and make sure that you do not suffer from stage fright or speech anxiety or nervousness. Ganon ba? Are you nervous when you are facing an audience?
Actually, like I'm taking part of it as a representation of all the teachers here in Vietnam. We are sharing the same struggles. Like some of us may have better skills in speaking, but
Mm,
in writing we lack academic words. So and
okay.
vice versa. Some of us
Vice
may be
versa.
good in writing and
Yes,
we
yes,
cannot express in speaking. So like
yes,
it's
yes.
for everybody, or for general generally, how could you give what tips can you
Yeah,
give to all of us so we can
yes,
improve and take
yes,
these tips in our class so we can
yes,
be proficient in written
yes.
and oral
Yes,
language.
right, right. Yes, I can feel the struggle, John, no? So in other words, if you are good, for example, in writing, no, that's written communication, and you feel that you may be deficient in oral
Speaking.
communication, yeah, oral communication or speaking, again, let me go back to practice. If you are now teaching, because you are, no? If you are teaching, that is the best way by which you can really practice. And do not let the do not let the deficiency, for example, in words that you are using, be a hindrance to your oral communication or to your speaking skills, no? Strive to have confidence, strive to build confidence, and then just practice. I made as an example, I used as an example, former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos. If you listen to her during her first few years in Malacanang, she was really a bad speaker, very bad speaker. But over the years, through constant practice, gumaling siya, ang galing, no? She was very articulate. She was articulate. She became credible. Yun, that's another word, no? Credible. Be a credible speaker. Kasi teacher ka naman, I think you're a credible speaker because teacher ka. So work on it, John. Work on it. Maintain eye contact if you wish to become a successful oral communicator. Maintain eye contact and make sure that you can just be yourself. Do not put on a facade, no? Just be yourself
Yeah.
and your learners will really see that you are a sincere person. Ganon. Pero practice lang yan. Practice. Practice.
So thank you so much, Dr. Hinove, and I will
Yes.
really like apply
Yes.
those tips
Apply.
for
Yes.
my improvement.
Yes. Right.
Thank you
Starting
so much,
tomorrow.
Dr.
Yeah.
Hinove. Okay.
Welcome. Yes. Nice to see you again,
Thank
John.
you,
Nice
Sir
to see you
Nico.
again.
Okay, thank
Nice to
you
see
so
you
much,
again.
for Dave and Dr. Hinove. We will be talking more about it on Saturday. That will be
Yeah.
our smoothie. All right,
Discourse. Yeah. Discourse.
discourse. Next question. Do we still have questions? It's already midnight in the
In
Philippines,
the
right?
Philippines. It's
Well,
fine. My day has just started. No problem. Oh, my day has just started. Really. I'm as fresh as the morning dew.
other questions, or if you need some pieces of advice from
Yeah.
our adjunct professor, you might as well be shooting your questions now.
Mm, yeah.
Other questions? None? Okay. Again, a reminder, you will be having your module task for this one. I will be coordinating with Dr. Hinawi for the task, okay, for this particular module. And might as well, the PowerPoint will be posted in our platform and of course, with the corresponding module. So if you don't have any other questions or you don't want to ask some pieces of advice, reserve. that or those questions because Okay, because on Saturday, okay, we will be having the Moodle on course. For those who were not able to join for the two virtual classes, the videos are already available on our platform and of course on our YouTube channel, and that's Tesol Coach Master. All right, so please feel free to visit our YouTube channel, of course.
Sis-
Yes,
Mr. Javier.
yes, sir.
Yeah, just a quick question, actually, an advice, because I'm having struggles whenever I talk as a speaker.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
having struggles on how to eliminate these, I don't know how to
Filler
say
word?
it, a
Filler?
filler word
Mm.
that I don't really know I am using. But whenever I watch the video I use, I'm beginning to see that I'm using a lot of no, no, no.
Yes,
Actually,
yes,
no, no.
yes, yes,
It's like I have not intended to say it whenever I
yes.
talk, but it just come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes,
slip
yes,
of the tongue. So,
yes,
is there a possibility on how to eliminate this
yes.
totally?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Javier. You're not alone in that particular struggle. Many actually are also on the same boat as you. May I ask where you are situated now? Are you in the Philippines? Are
I
you
am
in Vietnam?
in I am in Vietnam. I am in
Okay.
Vietnam teaching Vietnamese students. Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. No, but you speak well, huh, Mr. Javier? You speak well. I'm listening to you. You speak well, but your struggle is on filler words, as what you had said, no? Or perhaps something like those that you may not be aware of, but which you are already using. Is that right? Yes,
Exactly.
yes. Like
Exactly.
yes,
Accurately.
yes. Like maybe you say okay, right? No,
A lot.
okay, yes,
And I
okay.
don't intend to use it.
Yes, I know that you don't want to use
Especially
it. Yeah.
especially now that I have changed my career from corporate now to
To
teaching students. So
yes, yes,
the language that I have been using, I have to how do I say it? I have to level it up with the kids on how to say it in a nice way that will not they will understand it clearly.
okay, yes. In other words, your background, which is in corporate communication, am I
In
correct?
yes, it
Corp,
is in corporate communication.
corporate communication, and now dealing with very young learners who are not
Very young learners.
yes, who are not
Who-
native speakers of the English language. That's really very difficult. Thus, listen. This is my advice, Mr. Javier. Listen to yourself. Listen, no? Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself, and maybe you can bite your tongue, not really bite because it will hurt you, no? Maybe check yourself. Check. Just in case, for example, if you say you have constantly been saying okay or no or something like that, check yourself, listen to yourself. And if you are already about to say it, I wonder if that's possible. If you're already about to say it, then check yourself. You can pause a bit, pause for a few seconds, pause for a few seconds, and then go on. Or if you have a companion or a friend, for example, Mr. Javier, maybe you can request that friend to sit in the class where you are in, and then let that person list down. Ili-list down niya. How many times have you said okay in that particular session? And you will be surprised at the maybe huge number. 'Di ba? And then try to reduce it, no? Let's say
Mhm.
one
Yes.
session. Wow, I had a student who said I know I cannot remember what that particular student said, pero 100 times ginat down nung kanyang classmate, no? And then somehow it tapered because you only need to have somebody tell you, "Uy, Mr. Javier, dumami naman yung you have been saying this a number of times." Ayan, oh. Next session, baka yung 100 mo naging 98 na lang, no? Wow, oo. Medyo may improvement na siya, ha?
No, what has become to my class is that whenever I do this, every kids will
Oh,
say, "Oh,
okay.
okay." It's like that.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
that they know that I will say
Okay.
okay.
Yes, right, right, right. Oh,
Yes.
or perhaps, yeah, now that you mention your students or your pupils, let them be the ones to jot down. How many times did our teacher say okay? Let them be the one. Just then make it part of a game, something, so that it will also be more fun. In Toastmasters International, I think there may be Toastmasters International in Vietnam also. They do really a counting. They call it the count. Count. Diba? Sometimes we say or something. They do that. Oo. Pati yung long pauses. Nag-pause ka ng matagal, then they count that, no? Ayan. So how many times did you say that? Oh, so once you are aware of it nalaman mo na yan, then you try to check. Talagang check na check, ha? Literally check yourself. And then somehow it will disappear na. But it will be done over time. Medyo matatagalan over time. Oo, ganon. Yeah, I think that's very helpful. I do that also. Count the number of times that you have said that. You'll be amazed at the progress that you will be making. Yeah.
Okay, Jen. Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks a lot,
salamat,
Doc.
salamat din, Mr. Javier.
Okay, so
Thank you
probably,
so much.
okay, this is now the start to do the so-called the account.
Right, right.
Now, I know that everyone is experiencing this particular difficulties, especially when dealing with very young
Mm-mm.
learners, and of course to our key first school students, considering the Cambridge. There are
Mm.
other ways on how to teach this particular levels of students. So I will be posting in related readings on our platform on how to deal with particular levels, particular ages of students, especially in teaching grammar, or probably how to make your very young learner class or young learner classes be somewhat like interactive
Mm-mm.
um, in such a way that you get the attention of your students, because this students are really considered to be English as a foreign language learner.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so English can never be a second language for them, but English is
Mm-mm.
a foreign language for them because English
Mm-mm.
used as their medium of instruction in school. So even English is taught in Vietnamese. So the only chance for them
Mm.
to be surrounded with the so-called English environment is the time that they will be in the English or in a school, and English is considered to be, or there is the special part for them, wherein a faculty is in charge to do that. So it will be hard, okay, as what taking into consider teacher Sarah has been teaching for almost, but still, all of those knowledge with regard to culture and other things to consider the teaching, but still, okay, still having this struggle on how to get the attention of these young learners who are EFL learners. Okay, I
Right.
hope I've learned something from tonight's virtual class, which is something to do with. Again, we still have another virtual class with Dr. Genove, but unfortunately will never be her last virtual class, because we'll be having a lot more of virtual classes in the next session. All
Yeah.
right. So,
Actually, Sir Nick, I prepared three PowerPoints. I thought that I would be able to use all of them. I used only one because of the time.
we just
Yes.
reserve one for the next,
Okay.
you know.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This is this that those powerpoints will still be under module 5, which is something that we
Ah.
do for English language teachers, but
I
we will
good.
have another schedule for that one.
Okay, good, good, good. Yes, because there were really so many. There are still so
Yes.
many that I am going to share with everybody. Right.
Thank you so much for tonight, Dr. Hinove. And again,
Yeah.
let me just reiterate again, a recap from Dr. Genove. Words are the universal currency of human. The better we are with them, the better in anything we do. Okay, so again, I am hoping that you all have a very productive night, even though you were tired and exhausted out of the classes that you had this, afternoon or this evening. But still, 50, more than 50 teachers are still alive and kicking, okay, just to attend, just to join this virtual class. Thank you so much. And once again, this is Tesol, Master in Verbs. We will see you again on Saturday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Salamat.
Salamat.
Thank you, everybody.
For an internationally recognized TESOL certification in order to work abroad, start a new career, or further your career? Then TESOL Coach Master Inc. is the answer. At TESOL Coach Master, we provide advanced, quick, friendly, and affordable TESOL course which is legal to find your ESL/EFL or other English teaching job anywhere in the world. TESOL Coach Master is awarded by different organizations such as the 2019 World Class Philippines Award in the field of education, Online TESOL Certification, 2018 to 2019 Global Awards for Marketing and Business Excellence as Best Online TESOL Certification Provider, and the recent National Customer's Choice Annual Awards 2020 as the Most Outstanding Online TESOL Certification Provider. For more information, visit our website www.tesolcoachmaster.com.
Nagka-mute na sad ka, ma'am.
Yeah, yan. So good night, everybody. It's good morning pala in the Philippines.
Good morning, the Philippines.
Good morning already in the Philippines.